Hi everyone, my name is Zuluzinio. I'm Ethiopian from Somalia. I grew up without parents. I had to survive. How to survive on the street? Of course, steal. I stole bread from the central market counter, took dates on the farmer's market. I'm embarrassed to be honest, but I had to borrow shoes from the mosque because I had nothing to put on. Many guys were caught, but my friend Zamba and I were the best and remained elusive. Once in a while, we moved to new cities where we again lived on our craft. We were caught once in a new town and taken somewhere outside the city, into some half-abandoned building. We were informed that from now on, we are working for Mr. Ghelani. If we want to live in warmth, satiety, and on a soft bed, we must obey the elders' orders. Those who will not follow and resist will receive 100 strokes with sticks. We were divided into pairs and forced to fight with each other. Then, according to the results, we were split into groups. Those who lost began to be trained to steal wallets from pockets and bags, to divert attention, and many other tricks. Those who won in their pair were taught to fight with knives, hold weapons, and shoot. Zamba and I were in different groups. I got to the militants and Zamba to the thieves. But not everyone did well. They were taken away somewhere and we never saw them again. There was psychological recruitment at the same time. We were told that this is the best thing that could happen to us in our life and that if we are loyal to the end, then fortune is waiting for us. We were shown films about a beautiful life, large, luxurious houses, expensive cars, and they said that all of it will be ours soon. Some completely changed at this stage and believed. It happened to Zamba. The last time we talked to him, I saw how he changed. He became nervous. There was a lousy gleam in his eyes. Since then, we've been divided, and I have not seen him anymore. I was given the first combat mission. I had to guard a small food warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The night was unusually dark. The senior guard sent me around to check the area and went to sleep in a security booth. I was terribly scared and listened to every rustle. Suddenly, I heard someone climb over a fence. My knees shook and my palms broke sweat. I ran to the sound source and saw a skinny man in rags. When the man saw me, he began to chatter. He has nothing to eat, and he has 5 hungry children to feed. Because of nerves and sweaty palms, my AK-47 assault rifle slipped out of my hands and fell to the ground. Since we were taught not to put the weapon on safety catch, it fired, and the bullet hit the man's head. In horror, I picked up a gun. Literally, a few seconds later, a shot rang out behind me and I saw a similar man fall, but with a knife, and a senior guard was standing behind him. He thought that I shot the intruder, although it was an accident. After this incident, I was awarded a basket of fresh fruit and new clothes. I still guarded this warehouse for some time, after which they told me that it was time for me to go on to more dangerous tasks since I'd proved myself. I was taken to the coast. There was a base of sea pirates. I became a part of the team. We chased ships in the ocean and threatened with gunshots. Sometimes security came across and we retreated. Sometimes we were thrown off boxes as a payoff. But as they told me, the most valuable thing was to take on the ship and demand a ransom. It was considered a great success and the primary goal of our attacks, but we didn't get lucky for a long time. Until once, we managed to seize some ship. Something happened to his engine and we quickly caught up with him and boarded. I saw white people for the first time in my life. They were all driven into the hold, tied up, and I was put as a guard. At first, their captain was interrogated by our elder for a long time in a language unknown to me. The white captain hesitantly made excuses, but ours only got angrier and angrier. It was clear that something was going wrong. Our whole team went somewhere, leaving me alone with the crew of the captured ship, giving me the task of guarding and, in case of what, to fire. Time was ticking. The captain of the ship spoke to me. I didn't understand him, but it was clear that he was asking for something. Surely to let them go. I knew that if I let them go, I could lose my head. Suddenly, there was an explosion. The ship began to roll quickly to the side. The captain pleadingly held out his handcuffs, asking for release. I hesitated, but then the second explosion thundered, and I made a decision. I shot the chain of handcuffs and released all the crew. There's no turning back. Now, my former teammates and I are enemies. With the crew, we climbed onto the deck. The ship was rapidly sinking. With my eyes, I was looking for our boat. The moment I saw it, an explosion thundered again. I was dazed and thrown into the water by the shockwave. I began to sink, but came to my senses and swam to the surface of the water. Everything around was burning and no one was to be seen. I miraculously survived. One of our boats that survived was carried away into the ocean and I swam after it. I barely made it and climbed on board. Only now I could look at the whole picture. The ship sank already. The water around this place was still burning in some areas and the sky was covered with thick, black smoke. I tried to start the engine of my boat, but a motor was damaged and I had no choice but to surrender to the ocean's will. I drifted for 3 weeks. The water supplies from the boat's glove compartment were long gone, and if it wasn't for some rainy days, I would be dead. The forces left me and I already said goodbye to life. By some miraculous combination of circumstances, a Swedish ship found me. I was taken aboard and as a refugee was taken to Sweden. I learned Swedish. It's not as tricky as Somali. I live in a refugee camp. I like it here and I want to bring Zamba here. I wonder how he is there. I hope he's well. That's all for now. I will definitely tell you what will happen next, but for now, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.
Hi, I'm Johnny. I met Patricia about 6 months ago. I'm modest and even-tempered, and she's reckless and wild. We were opposites like fire and water, but we were drawn to each other. I was born into a poor family. Actually, my mother raised me alone. She worked as a cleaner. My father left us many years ago and then he went missing. I also had a grandmother, Edith, who lived somewhere in the north, in the state of Michigan. As for Patricia, she was a daughter of a rich businessman, Alexander Majors. She grew up in wealth and luxury. She wanted to study abroad, but her father forced her to enter a university in our city, as he was afraid to let her go to Europe, where she could make friends with bad people. When Patricia told him about me, he must have regretted his decision. Once I came over to visit her and couldn't help overhearing their conversation. He was very angry. "What were you thinking? He's a son of a cleaner." "If you think that I'm going to buy an apartment for the two of you, you're definitely wrong." Patricia remained silent. He said he would make her marry a son of his wealthy friends, the Robinsons, and then added, "You're such a beautiful girl. It's okay, honey. I'll help you make the right choice." Later that night, Patricia and I were discussing the situation. She tried to calm me down, said she could find the words to help her father understand what was going on between us, and I started to regret falling in love with the daughter of a rich man. She laughed and said she couldn't understand how she had fallen in love with a son of a poor man. Our feelings were getting stronger day by day, and soon I proposed. She said yes. Her father was furious. He decided to talk to me. To tell you the truth, I was very scared of him. Alexander Majors was known for his harsh nature. He made a business offer to me. I would receive $100,000 from him for leaving his daughter alone, and I refused. Then he said he had a lot of resources to make my life hell, while the sum of $100,000 could help me escape from poverty. He asked me to take my time and think about his offer. I was confused and tried to understand it from his point of view. Indeed, Patricia and I could not make a good couple. She was a daughter of a rich man and I had nothing to offer her, so I decided it would be wise to break up with her, but I needed to see her one last time. And of course, I wasn't going to take her father's money. It was complete nonsense. I asked Patricia to meet me as we had a lot to talk about, but she interrupted me and said she was pregnant. I was shocked. Of course, our breakup was out of the question now. I was happy. Really happy. I would be a father. But then I told her about her father's offer. At first she got angry, but then she suggested a brilliant plan. I had to take the money and we would run away to another city to start a new life. It was a good idea because if her father knew about the pregnancy, he would make her have an abortion. The next morning, I was standing in her father's office. He was very glad to see me. I had to pretend to be upset. In response to that, he said I would be able to find another girl soon. Then he gave me $100,000. I left. In the evening, we had a plane to Detroit and then took a bus to a small northern city, Port Huron. My grandmother Edith was surprised but truly happy about our arrival. We hadn't seen each other for over 10 years. No wonder that Patricia's father was mad about us. It was his own daughter and a penniless scoundrel who fooled him. The only thing that soothed him were short messages from various accounts belonging to Patricia, informing him that she was fine and he had nothing to worry about. A few months later, Patricia and I founded our own business, which was rather profitable. When it was time for a baby to arrive, I was very nervous and tried to get distracted by work, but when I was told my wife had a son, I rushed to the hospital where I met Patricia's father. I was shocked, but he was happy. He told me that he saw Patricia and his grandson. Then he asked me how we had to share his daughter and the baby. I had a lump in my throat, but I said firmly that I was not going to leave the family. He laughed and calmed me down. He said he knew everything about us, praised us for not wasting the money and for establishing the business, and thanked me for my idea to name the child after him, Alexander. I was taken aback by the news, but then realized it was my wise wife who had made this plan. Alexander Sr. put his arm around my shoulder and we went to the nearest restaurant to have a toast for Alexander Jr. Patricia's father was fascinated with the picture of the baby who would then be the heir of the glorious business dynasty of the Majors. If you like my story, please click the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel.